Good afternoon. I am extremely grateful for this opportunity to brief you in my capacity as the UN Special Rapporteur on the human right to safe drinking water and sanitation on an issue which is very close to my heart. I would like to talk to you today about how formal recognition and adoption of the human right to water and sanitation can address the problems experienced by women when they do not have access to adequate, secure access to a toilet. I would also like to congratulate the Parliamentary Group on Population and Development on the Sir Ron Wilson Human Rights Award that they have won. And I hope that they will also be able to use the right to safe drinking water and sanitation in their work. I'm sorry I cannot be with you today. I'm currently in New York, locked up, waiting for Hurricane Sandy to allow me to present my annual report to the UN General Assembly, hopefully tomorrow. My report, the report that I will hopefully present soon to the UNGA, focuses on ensuring that the issues of inequalities, specifically when referred to access to water and sanitation services, are addressed in the post-2015 development agenda. The next generation of goals, targets and indicators will take cognizance of the failure of the current MDGs to actually deliver services to those who are marginalized, to the poorest individuals, to women, etc. The rights to sanitation and water provide the arguments as well as some solutions to ensure that this shameful gap in equality is closed. So let me turn to the discussions that you are having here. Under international human rights law, states are obliged to respect, to protect and to fulfill human rights. Australia, which has ratified the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, a global human and one of the most fundamental human rights treaties, has made commitments to provide for a number of rights, including the right to an adequate standard of living under Article 11 of that treaty. The rights to water and sanitation are an intrinsic part of this right to an adequate standard of living. Their scope and content has been more explicitly developed in recent years, thanks not only to the work done by the Committee on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights of the UN, thanks also to my work, but also through the adoption of resolutions by UN member states on these human rights. These resolutions have been adopted both by the UN General Assembly and by the UN Human Rights Council, the latter by consensus. And I would like to say also that it's also the increased visibility of the critical consequences that the neglect of water and sanitation issues has on billions of people that has also raised the attention given to these matters. States must ensure universal access to water and sanitation services in a participatory, non-discriminatory manner. Like several other economic, social and cultural rights, these rights must be accessible, affordable, of good quality, culturally appropriate and safe, physically and to ensure good health, so that everyone can live a healthy, safe and dignified life. States can be held accountable for their compliance with the rights to water and sanitation. Increasingly, individual states are making public statements of support for this right, including earlier this year the UK, following intensive research into the value of the right to sanitation, and I have to say also after very intense and prolonged discussions I personally had with the UK government in order to dispel doubts, myths, difficulties, in order to enable them to give that additional step to recognize the right to sanitation after they had already, as you know, recognized the right to water. At the latest Human Rights Council session in September, a resolution on these rights to water and sanitation was adopted by consensus and endorsed by 80 governments, which demonstrates this is a number which has been increasingly growing and which demonstrates the growing also support and the stronger support for this right. I understand that also in preparing for the Rio+20 conference this year, Australia has already had extensive interministerial discussions on what these rights means nationally. I'm happy with the findings, and I have to say I'm even happier with the fact that Australia decided to endorse the Rio+20 declaration, which, as we all know, formally endorses, reaffirms the human rights to water and sanitation. So this support for the right to water and sanitation, and for the right to water, and even more specifically for the right to sanitation, has been crucial for increasing not only the priority given to sanitation in budget allocations at the national or local levels, but also to the need to prioritize access to sanitation, but also to water for those who are discriminated against and for excluded groups and individuals. We have already heard today about the importance of sanitation to women. 1 in 3 women on the planet, 1.25 billion, lack access to adequate sanitation, and the impact of this is devastating. Sanitation would make their lives better, healthier, safer, and more dignified. I don't need to repeat what other speakers have said, but I would like to fully endorse and support their presentations. At the Human Rights Council 21st session in September, I presented my report on stigma and its impact on the enjoyment of the rights to water and sanitation, where I also highlighted the need for increased attention to menstrual hygiene management, particularly for girls in schools. Recognition of the right to sanitation increases the visibility of the problems associated with a lack of sanitation, giving a strong framework for alleviation of these problems. Australia has already committed significant funds to water and sanitation in their development cooperation budget. And I have to say, I've been, in July, I was on mission to Tuvalu and Kiribati. I was also in Fiji, where I met with AusAid, and I witnessed the investments that the government of Australia is making in the areas of water and sanitation. So I think that recognition of these rights would provide impetus to ensuring that these funds are targeted where they are most needed, and that investments are made in manners that help those in need in an effective but also sustainable manner. I encourage Australia, hence, to take this significant step to turning a commitment to ensuring better access to sanitation until the public recognition of the right to sanitation and water in line with its obligations under international human rights law. This has significance at the national level, as I said, but also impacts international cooperation and assistance. There are precedents within many bilateral development agencies, such as the Swiss Development Cooperation Agency, the German GIZ, the Spanish ISE, for example, where the impact of this recognition can be seen at the way programs are conceived, projects are approved, etc. I am in the process of developing currently a handbook for states and other stakeholders to provide guidance in how these rights can be implemented, and I look forward to an opportunity of sharing these ideas with the Australian government. There are many relevant opportunities in the next few weeks for the Australian government to publicly and formally announce its support to the rights and its endorsement of the rights to water and sanitation. 2 possible dates could be the 19th of November, World Toilet Day, or the 10th of December, World Human Rights Day. I think this would be excellent dates for us to receive the good news that Australia is now openly, publicly endorsing and recognizing the human rights to water and sanitation. Thank you for inviting me to present via video, and I hope that you enjoy fruitful discussions on this vital issue. Thank you very much.